Six Flags Great America opened as Marriott's Great America on the country's bicentennial, 1976. Six Flags acquired the park in 1984 and has operated it ever since. Located between Chicago and Milwaukee, this park has become a favorite of the chain, and in many cases, they've led the way by opening innovative new coasters. The park has seen 23 coasters come and go over the last 46 years, and today, let's count them all down. These are the coasters of Six Flags Great America, ranked from worst to best. For the record, I've been to this park 4 times, my first trip coming in 2013 and my last one in 2021. I haven't ridden all of their Defunct coasters, but I have ridden some of these after being relocated to another park, and for others, I've ridden their clones, so I feel I can pretty accurately rank these up. Number 23, Z-Force, an Intamin space diver, opened in 1985, closed in 1987. There was only one Intamin space diver ever built, and it makes sense. It was not a good model. This was a compact and portable model built for Six Flags ride rotation program, so that's one reason this was only at the park for 3 years. It was moved to Six Flags Over Georgia, then to Magic Mountain, where it operated for 11 years. This is where I rode it, and it was pretty terrible. The coaster was defined by hairpin turns, then it twists into position, then more hairpin turns, and repeat, ending with a helix. This had 4 cross seating with big over-the-shoulder restraints, and those turns and transitions just hurt. It's one of the worst coasters I've ever ridden, though it may have ridden better at Great America when it was brand new. This operated where Goliath is now. Number 22, Gulf Coaster, an Alan Herschel Little Dipper, opened in 1976, closed in 1976. This was a very basic kids coaster, the same one that opened at Great America in California, but this lasted just for the opening season. Apparently, this ride had a problem with catching on fire, and that led to its removal. It operated in what is now the Mardi Gras section of the park, where Roaring Rapids currently stands. Number 21, Sprocket Rockets, a Vekoma Junior coaster, opened in 1998. This was called Spacely Sprocket Rockets until 2017, themed to the Jetsons. You will find this model everywhere. It's kind of a cross between a family coaster and a kids coaster, having almost 700 feet of track and standing 28 feet tall, maxing out at almost 22 miles per hour. It's a basic, compact twisting layout, and it's good for kids working their way up the coaster chain. Number 20, Iron Wolf, a B&M stand-up, opened in 1990, closed in 2011. Six Flags gave B&M their first chance at their own project in Iron Wolf, a small, compact stand-up coaster, very similar to the ones that Bollinger and Mabillard worked on for Intamin. It has a 90-foot drop, a top speed of 55 miles per hour, and 2 inversions. This was moved to Six Flags America in 2012, where I finally got to ride it in 2021 as Firebird. By this point, it was a floatless coaster, but the layout wasn't very exciting, and it had a lot of headbanging, so I can only imagine how it was while having to stand up. This took the spot of Z-Force and is located where Goliath is now. Number 19, Little Dipper, a PTC Junior coaster, opened in 2010. This operated for 59 years at nearby Kiddieland, but in 2009, that park went under, and Six Flags saw an opportunity to save an old classic. They made the winning bid of $33,000 and moved the coaster to Great America for the 2010 season. This is a basic figure-8 style wooden coaster, 700 feet long, 28 feet tall, pretty much identical to Sprocket Rockets. It's pretty forceless, but smooth. And if you go into the queue, you will find a history of the wooden coasters in the Six Flags chain. In a park that's lacking family-friendly coasters, this was a nice addition. Number 18, Joker, an S&S free spin, opened in 2017. This was one of 3 Joker free spins that Six Flags opened in 2017, and you can find these at 7 Six Flags parks now. I remember the first time I rode this, I got such a bad ride that I had to go back around for another round, and that one was better. Still, these are very disorienting no matter what ride you get, and they're also very short. The line doesn't always move fast, so it's kinda hard to justify waiting a long time for it. Not a bad ride at all, just nothing special. Number 17, Raging Cajun, a Reverchon spinning mouse, opened in 2004, closed in 2013. Just like Iron Wolf, this closed and was moved down to Six Flags America. I got to ride this in its last year at Great America, and then I rode it again at Six Flags America in 2019, and I thought it was great. Your ride will vary based on weight distribution, but if you get it just right, you will be spinning like crazy. It's inconsistent, so I gotta rank it lower, but it was a very solid family coaster. This operated on the plot of land that Joker occupies today. Number 16, Shockwave, an Aero Looper, opened in 1988, closed in 2002. This coaster will go down in history as the first to have 7 inversions, and it was one of many mega loopers built by Arrow in the late 80s and early 90s. This one stood 170 feet tall with a 155-foot drop, hit 65 miles per hour, and by all accounts, it was pretty rough. I never got to ride this. It had been gone for a whole decade before I got to the park, but I've ridden coasters like it, and based on its reputation, I can't put it that high. When the park was looking for a place to put Superman Ultimate Flight, they originally targeted the Whizzer, but when the park's fans protested, they turned their sights to Shockwave, and that was it. That plot of land now being used for the B&M Flying Coaster since 2003. Number 15. Demon, an Arrow Looper, opened in 1976. This opened with the park under the name Turn of the Century, but it was different back then. It had a couple hills after the drop, and then 2 corkscrews at the end. 4 years after it opened, the 2 hills were replaced by loops, and the name was changed to Demon. The same transformation happened at the same time to the Demon at the California park. It's interesting, but true. This park had 2 Arrow Loopers for 14 years, but the older one outlasted the newer one. From my experience, this is a fun but simple ride. It has a nice setting in the middle of the park, and it seems to be here to stay. Number 14. Dark Knight, a Mock Rides Wild Mouse, opened in 2008. This opened at the same time the Dark Knight movie was coming out, as Six Flags was trying to capitalize on the movie's massive popularity. They ordered 3 of these Dark Knight Wild Mouse coasters, and based on my last ride in 2021, I was very impressed. The theming inside the queue and on the ride itself is decent, albeit kinda cheap, but I was impressed with how fast the ride was moving. The chaotic laterals and sharp dips added to the theme of riding through Gotham City and trying to escape the Joker. The ride gets a lot of hate, but I enjoyed it a lot. Number 13. Flash, Vertical Velocity, an Intimate Impulse, opened in 2001. This just got a retheme in 2022, fitting in better with the DC theme, alongside Batman the Ride and Joker. These were very popular in the early 2000s, a very narrow layout that packs in an extreme ride experience, launching up to 70 miles per hour and going up 185-foot spikes, 1 twisted and 1 vertical. I've had good and bad rides on this, but in general, I'd say it serves the park well. There have been some rumors about this being removed, but after its retheme, it seems to be safe for now. Number 12. Rolling Thunder, an Intamin Bobsled, opened in 1989, closed in 1995. Here was another coaster that was part of Six Flags Ride Rotation program, this one starting at Great Adventure in 1984 before coming to Great America. It spent 6 years at Great America, outlasting the Ride Rotation program, but the park wanted to make room for a brand new section, the Southwest Territory. This was located right next to the Demon, and some of its layout is where Raging Bull is today. I never rode this at Great America, but I did ride it at its new home, Great Escape. Here, it's known as Alpine Bobsled, and it's a wild and out-of-control ride. The train isn't attached to the track, so you're sliding back and forth. Even if you're not moving very fast, it still feels like you're going to jump the track. It's a very fun, but slightly outdated ride. Number 11. Tidal Wave, a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop, opened in 1978, closed in 1991. One of Great America's first coasters, and one of the first ever launched looping coasters. This served the park for 13 years, before they wanted to use the space for something new. The first inverted looping coaster, Batman the Ride. These weight-drop Schwarzkopf shuttle loops were very popular in the late 70s, launching out at 57 miles per hour, going through a loop and up a spike, and then doing it all backwards, going back through the station and up a backward spike before the ride ended. This was moved to Six Flags Over Georgia in 1995, and then Kentucky Kingdom in 2003. Once that park closed down in 2009, it was scrapped before the park reopened in 2014, being replaced by Lightning Run. Number 10. Whizzer, a Schwarzkopf speed racer, opened in 1976. This opened as Willard's Whizzer, in honor of the park's owner, Willard Marriott, but by 1981, it was shortened to just the Whizzer. This is a very interesting ride, where riders sit in a single-file sled-type car, only a seatbelt holding them in, up a 70-foot spiral lift, and then a layout of shallow drops and low-to-the-ground turns. It's one of the most unique and thrilling family coasters out there, and the park's fans were right to try and save this back in 2002. The one at the California park wasn't so lucky. That was shut down in 1988. Number 9. Batman the Ride, a B&M invert, opened in 1992. Of all the Batman clones out there in the world, and there are 11 out there, this one deserves special attention because it was the first. Not only the first Bat clone, but the first inverted coaster to go upside down. It was a revolutionary concept, one that some manufacturers thought was impossible, but B&M made it happen and others followed suit. In just 2 years, Six Flags Great America got the first B&M in Iron Wolf, and then the first inverted coaster in Batman the Ride. This is a very intense 5-inversion coaster, standing 100 feet tall and hitting 50 miles per hour, packing a lot of action into a short layout. It was so successful that Six Flags started flooding its parks with the same model. Number 8. Superman Ultimate Flight, a B&M Flyer, opened in 2003. For once, Great America was not on the leading edge of this B&M model, but they caught on very quick. Air at Alton Towers and Superman at Six Flags Over Georgia were the first ones, and Great America got a clone of the one at Over Georgia the year after. Standing 106 feet tall, hitting 51 miles per hour, and having 2 inversions, this coaster does an amazing job simulating flight. You also have a great moment of intensity with that pretzel loop, but the rest is just a graceful ride around a field, flying over the land where Shockwave once stood. Number 7. American Eagle, an Intamin wooden coaster, opened in 1981. B&M wasn't the only company that Great America took a chance on. In 1981, they gave Intamin their first major project, a 127-foot dual-track wooden coaster, each track covering 4,650 feet. This gets mixed opinions after 40 years. It gets bumpy at times, especially in that giant helix, but I think it has a great layout with some very good airtime. The rumors of its demise have been swirling for years, but it just keeps on trucking, still offering a great ride for me as of 2021. Number 6. Deja Vu, a Vekoma giant inverted boomerang, opened in 2001, closed in 2007. Six Flags added 3 of these for the 2001 season, and all 3 were plagued with issues from the start. This was a twist on their existing inverted boomerang, this one being much taller and with vertical spikes, along with an X-shaped layout where the loop crosses over the station. I never rode this one, but I rode the one at Magic Mountain, and I did ride this at its new home at Silverwood under its new name, Aftershock. As of 2019, it still offers a great ride. It runs a bit rough, but nothing too bad, and I imagine it was smoother when it was new at Great America. This operated where Buccaneer Battle is today. Number 5. Max Force, an SNS air launch, opened in 2019. It had been 14 years since we saw a compressed air launch in America, and this one would have the fastest acceleration in America, 0 to 78 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds. In just 1,800 feet of track, it packs in 5 inversions, including weird ones like the dog tongue and the max dive loop, kind of packing in 2 cheap inversions in one. But in between those, there's the Heartline Roll that's taken at 65 miles per hour, the world's fastest inversion. I was underwhelmed by the ride as a whole, but the launch is very powerful and it makes the rest of the ride not really matter. That launch is no joke. Number 4. X-Flight, a B&M wing coaster, opened in 2012. 5 years after Splashwater Falls was shut down, its remains were just sitting there in the middle of the park. Six Flags was just coming out of bankruptcy, but surprised everyone by ordering a B&M wing coaster. With 3,000 feet of track and 5 inversions, starting with a wing over drop and ending with an inline twist through a tower, serving as a near-miss element. This is a beautiful coaster and a crowd favorite. I think it would be better if those vest restraints didn't tighten so much throughout the ride, but overall, I can't complain. This is a very solid wing coaster. Number 3. Viper, a wooden coaster, opened in 1995. Back in the 90s, it was very common for parks to build replicas of the Coney Island Cyclone, possibly the most famous coaster in the world. It deserves the love it gets. After 95 years, it still holds up as a great ride. Viper is the best Cyclone replica I've ever seen. I actually like this one more than the original. Standing 100 feet tall with an 80-foot drop, hitting 50 miles per hour with almost 3,500 feet of track. This is a long double out and back layout packed with good airtime. Sometimes they'll even run the trains backwards, which makes for a wild experience, but I prefer the pure awesome ride of facing forward. Number 2. Goliath, an RMC wooden coaster, opened in 2014. Not long after Iron Wolf left the park, Great America was looking for something bigger and better for that plot of land. Not being a very big footprint, they had to get creative. They looked to RMC for a 165-foot wooden coaster with a 180-foot drop. It's 72 miles per hour, being a record for a wooden coaster at the time. Because of the small plot of land, it uses a very steep 45-degree lift hill. Covering just 3,100 feet of track, it's a very short ride, but it's a furious one. It packs in 2 insane inversions, 1 dive loop and 1 0G stall, plus 1 strong moment of ejector airtime. It may not be the best RMC, but the ride never disappoints, and you're left trying to catch your breath by the end. Number 1. Raging Bull, a B&M Hyper, opened in 1999. One of the most polarizing coasters in the country. I bet you can tell where I land on that debate based on where this ranks on the list. Great America was once again proactive with the B&M models, this being the second Hyper that B&M built, but this opened just a month after Apollo's Chariot. Up to this point, B&M had been all about their looping models, and they were finally trying their hand at big drops and camelbacks. Unlike most of the Hyper models that came after, this was less of a linear model and more of a twister, having more high turns than camelbacks. Despite this, it's still one of my favorite hypers, and without a doubt my favorite coaster in the park. It starts with a 208-foot drop that must be experienced in the back row. That pre-drop adding so much of the airtime, covering almost a mile of track with quality airtime moments. Even after 23 years, 3 train operations and fast dispatches, this still draws a big line as one of, if not the most popular coaster in the park. That's a wrap on all the coasters that ever operated at Six Flags Great America. Let me know what you think about this list, what you would have changed around, and what your favorite ride at the park is, past or present. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love rankings like these, please give me a sub. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you love baseball like I do. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.